finest mastery in Sichuan cuisine. $1,000 bottle baijiu tasting. That thing is coming out of my nose strong. Traditionally, you do not pair it with wine, but I'm in a fancy restaurant, so I do that. And this thing it's huge. Oh, that is amazing. Today is another great day in Chengdu, China, and I'm again with Captain Carp and Anthony. You have seen him in my videos before. Today, Anthony is bringing us to a special restaurant.
Yeah.
So what's this about?
它这个餐厅的风格比较像那种中国的民国时代的建筑风格，它是结合了传统的川菜和一些新派的做法。
Very interesting and very upscale, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check it out. This place is converted from an old-style mansion in the time of the Republic, right? They have invested a lot of money in renovating the space inside and out. Around like how much money did they put in for this place?
Maybe, I think. 千万多少千万?
Like 10 million RMB, which is like roughly
more than 10.
Okay, so let's say 1.5 million US dollars.
Or 20, maybe 20.
20? Okay, shit. So like 2 million US dollars and more. And well, without further ado, let's go and check it out. And also we have a private balcony in our private room. Look at this view, it's absolutely amazing. You can see all these old Republic period architecture style and very nice sunshine, although a little hot. First, we have the wine tasting section. This is the first wine. This is from Helan Mountain, which is an area in Ningxia, which is known to produce some of the greatest wine. It gains popularity since the recent years, and this is the first one. This is also used by the, I think, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for state dinners. Yeah, it's more of a fruity, a little floral, and a slight buttery aroma.
首次拆解，选自间隔图集搭配瞬间。
行，行。
夫妻肺片，
夫妻肺片。
间隔土鸡那个是，那个可被称水果层那个树稿是花花的主食。
Look at this giant bottle here. It is worth 2,500,000 RMB, which is roughly close to 40,000 US dollar for this bottle. And once you open it, you have to finish it within 3 days. So probably not for today. Okay, so moving on, we have another amazing dish. This is zangxiangzhu, which is Tibetan pig. And this one has a very unique flavor. Supposedly I have never had it before. And on top we have caviar. This is from Ya'an, also in Sichuan. By the way, China has become the largest producer for all caviars worldwide. I think around 70% of caviar that you eat in fine dining restaurants around the world are from China right now. Most of the fancy restaurants in New York City, they use caviar from China. Some of them in Qingdao, Qiandaohu, Thousand Island Lake, but more and more of them are started coming from Sichuan province, which is here. Okay. Oh, it's good. It doesn't have a super strong flavor, but the fatty aroma from the fatty part of it has a really nice, like rich, slightly porky, but not super heavy flavor. And you have the caviar that adds a bit saltiness and a little umami to it, which is quite good. You're being rather silent today.
Because I don't have a microphone.
Okay. Next one, we have this fancy dish, but this is not the first time it shows up on my channel. This is called ji douhua, which is literally chicken tohua, like a very soft, almost silky tofu, but it's actually not tofu. It's made with chicken. This is basically chicken that you smash with a back of knife, preferably on a sheet of pork skin. But nowadays they might have some modern appliances to do that. But basically you want to get them very soft and get rid of all the tendons and stuff, and you make it in a similar procedure of making tofu. And this thing is super umami, especially with the consomme. It is made with, I think for this particular one, it was made with over 20 old chicken. Because the older it gets, the more umami substance the chicken has, right? So this is like a super umami concentration, clear broth consomme, and you garnish with a little bit of a ham. And this is one of the very fancy dishes in Sichuan cuisine that's not spicy. I think I mentioned it more than a few times on my channel. All these most fancy dishes in Sichuan cuisine are not spicy, and this is one of them. And well, let's try it. Oh, okay, so first look at this. So fluffy and jiggly, almost like a cloud, and it has this consomme. Look at it, it's so clear, this broth.
How do you, so we have to be cheers?
I mean, okay, fine.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers, cheers.
Bottom up.
Cheers, cheers. Very good. Almost like cloud. It melts in your mouth. Well, it dissipates in your mouth. It's like it disappears, right? Let's try the consommé. Umami. Personally, I think I have some other even more umami, but I think this one's still quite decent. Next one, also very special. This is 手撕牦牛肉, which is hand-pulled yak meat. And it's a little bit slippery here, actually. Well, yak is well native to the Tibetan plateau, and I think you mostly have it only in China. The restaurants in US, even they say it's yak, it's not yak, it's actually beef, right? This is real yak. A little bit like smoky aroma to it.
Yeah.
It's a little chewy, huh? Well, but once you get the hang of it, once you're able to bite it, inside is actually quite not dry. I mean, like usually jerky is quite dry, right? But this one is like outside is a little slightly crispy, and inside I think it's actually considered tender for jerky. And as you can see, there are many fibers. That's why it's called hand pull. So you can like hand pull it like this. So you have this like sort of like concentrated jerky flavor, a little smoky. Well, this is better than expected because I thought this is super dry, right? But actually not bad. I think this is considered very good for a jerky. Moving on, we have another signature dish. This is kung pao shrimp ball. Usually it's kung pao chicken, but this one it's giant shrimp ball, Thai shrimp. Just look at the size of it. Even after it curls up, it's like this big. I mean, usually if it's like shrimp from here, it's like this little tiny, right? Well, let's try this. Oh shit, that is amazing. Outside slightly crispy, and inside it's a little tender, and that flavor is really coming through. The surface is slightly caramelized, so you have the sweetness, but also you have the classic flavor profile, right? We call them 荔枝胡辣, lychee burnt chili. So you have just like a tiny smoky flavor, not super strong, and you have this slight sweetness and slight sourness in it. This one has some cashew in it. Classically, it's not cashew, but you know, there's always a little bit of innovations, and look at the size, right? Everything is fried, and you have a little bit of glaze on top, and this thing is, it's huge, right? It's huge. The sauce coating around it really just gave it a nice flavor boost. Let's try a little bit of wine pairing for this one. A little bit sweet, maybe like a little vanilla and a little herb, thyme, a little bit like sweet peppercorn. So you have a hint of a spice and herb, also a hint of like sweetness for it. Like when you drink it, the sweetness is not too strong. I think it's it has a bit more tannin in it. But I have this somewhat sweet dish. We have a baby pigeon, half of baby pigeon. Okay, and as you can see, this is the action on your hands. So that's why I have gloves. Nice crispy skin. And you still have some oily aroma from it. Well, actually, I want to try the body because this one has more meat. The leg has good flavor, but not much meat. Okay, it's quite succulent still. Slightly crispy, juicy. Especially in the body, you have a little bit like Sichuan peppercorn flavors in it. It's nice, rich in flavor. It has like a very, ever so slightly tingling sensation from the Sichuan peppercorn. Next up, we have double cooked pork. But this one is a little different. This is called shaojiao, which is burnt chili. So you burn the chili to produce the oil, so it has like that intense aroma. And with the double cooked pork, of course, and the fermented bean paste, 豆豉 we call it. Good. I mean, you already know what the flavor is like. You've seen this so many times on my channel. The green chili from a place called Zhangshugang, which is considered expensive. Some people dub it as the Hermes of the chilies because it's like one of the more exquisite varieties. And to pair with it, we have this thing. This is called Wowotou. So look at this. It looks like a cone-shaped bun. You top this, you stuff this with the pork and the chili. This is a little creative. Like traditionally, you don't do that.
Ice cream. It's some kind of ice cream too. Bad.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, I mean, That's right, right? Like ice cream is basically fat. So you have, this is like a hot ice cream, pork hot ice cream. Of course, you need to pair this with carb, right? Usually it's rice, but in this case it's water, which you have this polar structure, as you can see, a little fluffy, and it soaks up the oil and the flavor from it, which is 1 + 1 more than 2 situation.
Is it a good combination or?
It's good. I think it works slightly better than rice here because it can soak up more flavor from the oil. Moving on, we have a small carb section. This is called 担担面, which is 担担 noodle. What does it mean? So 担担 is basically like this thing. I don't know. It's called 担担 in Chinese. So basically, it's back then the vendors sell noodles in this like basket that's hanging on their shoulder. We call this 担担, right? So this is the noodle, and traditionally this is a really small portion, less than 50 grams. You're supposed to savor it in 2 bites, 2 or 3 bites. And a very classic flavor profile in Sichuan cuisine. Nowadays, not a lot of restaurants are doing it right, and this restaurant is one of those that's doing it right. You have a little bit of peanuts, yacai, which is like a sort of like a fermented vegetables, and chili oil, everything. And the noodle also looks quite nice. I think this might be either made in house or a dedicated supplier, because you see the thickness of it, right? It's a little thicker than the usual noodles that you find in the noodle shop on the street. Okay. It's good. The noodle has some strength, but this one is cooked a little more than al dente. I personally prefer a little bit like al dente, so like a little bit like raw in the center, right? This one is a little over that, but still acceptable. Local people here, they don't really eat al dente for some reason, but that's what I like. And you have a little bit aroma from chili oil, a little bit like smoky chili, and a little bit shrimp peppercorn, numbing sensation, a little bit textural contrast from all these peanuts and stuff. This is small snacks, right? I'm not gonna go super fancy on it. And traditionally, you do not pair it with wine, but I'm in a fancy restaurant, so I do that. I think it tastes better now. Before, it doesn't taste much. You smell more, but you taste less. Now, I think the aroma is gone, but when you drink it, it becomes slightly sweeter. Or maybe that's because I have eaten so many other dishes that I have secrete enzyme in my saliva that produces the effect that makes it sweet, which basically translates to it tastes better now than it was before. We have so many dishes. I'm almost full, so I'm gonna be quick on these 2 dishes. This is called 泼辣土鳝鱼. 土鳝鱼 is earthy rice patty eel. So look at this. We have a lot of aromatics in there. Oh, it's good though, tender, and it fully absorbs the flavor. There's different dimension of the pickle spiciness to it. Not very strong, it's more aromatic. And there's of course things like doubanjiang, which is fermented broth and sauce as a base. That's a lot of case for a lot of Sichuan cuisine. This one is no exception. Okay, so next up we have this one. This is called 啤酒鸭 beer duck. This is made with beer. Again, pickled pepper, a little spicy. You have a little bit like brine flavor. Brine, what we call it in Chinese, is also a technique that you do with a lot of dishes. It's basically like a solution with different spices, and you soak the ingredients in there, but not a strong spice, it's more earthy, herbal spice. Moving on, we have another fancy dish. This is kai shui bai cai. So cabbage in boiled water, but it's not really boiled water, it's consommé. So pretty much the same as the chicken tofu before. Not chicken in a consommé type of broth, and this is the same, but the content is the heart, the very inner of cabbage. Piping hot first, really umami. But I do feel like they can add a little bit more salt in it. It doesn't have to be like actual salt. You can add hams and stuff that provides a little bit of booster, because now it is pretty unsalted, it's pretty mild. The umami essence doesn't get expressed as much. Either way, this still showcases some of the finest mastery in Sichuan cuisine. The broth is, I think, 99.5% mostly clear. You might have a bit of the protein dust in there. Ideally, you want it to be absolutely clear. After I drink a few sips of this, I do think that umami flavor gets expressed a little bit more. And also maybe one of the reasons is because I had all these more intense dish before that's more heavy on spice and seasoning, and all of a sudden if I have this, it will be relatively bland. But after I reset my palate with this, the umami expression from the soup start to emerge. Moving on, we have one of the most important items on this whole table today, As you can see, we have a huge bottle of baijiu. Baijiu literally translates as white wine, but it's not made with grape. This is a traditional Chinese baijiu that's made with sorghum. And usually it's very high in alcohol. And as for this particular one, this brand is very famous. Everyone in China knows about it. This is Guojiao, which translates as state cellar. 1573, that means when the cellar was established. It was an ancient cellar, and there are many different tiers of this type of baijiu. And this one we have is one of the most expensive, one of the highest tier one. This one is about 7,000 RMB, which is close to $1,000 a bottle. So today I'm having $1,000 bottle baijiu tasting. As you can see, we have this tiny cup here because this is very high in alcohol content. You want to take just small sip, right? I think the alcohol is about like 60%, which is kind of crazy, right? So because for the grape wine, right, then you have something like 12.5%. The higher one was 16%. This is 60%. Let's smell it. A rich floral fragrance. And let's taste it. Just like tiny sip on your tongue. You don't even swallow it and just let it dissipate on your tongue. Yes, well, extremely fragrant and also somewhat strong. Just by that tiny sip on my tongue, I can already feel that the fragrance along with this dragon breath spreading throughout my nostril and my ears like that. So it's very strong, slightly sweet, fresh. It's the time to drink it. That thing is coming out of my nose strong. And it goes through my esophagus, right, all the way down to my stomach, and that fragrance just goes like everywhere. We call them, in Chinese, we call them 七巧生烟, which is like 7 holes on your face that has smokes coming out of it, right? So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 holes. That means it's not actually real holes, but that we just use it in the Chinese context. This is really strong. And also, good thing is that before you taste strong wine like this, you need to eat and have carbs. Like usually people will eat a bowl of noodles before, so they will not get wasted very fast, right? And as you can see, I'm already approaching the end of the meal. I have ate a lot of different dishes, some noodles, different carbs. So for me, that protects me from the burn of the alcohol, so I can have the soothing effect to counter it. At the same time, tasting all that flavor, I think this is a great finish. 7,000 RMB, $1,000 a bottle. And also, by the way, this is not something you can just go buy on the counter because it's not a cheap wine. And today I got to experience it. In Chinese cuisine, there isn't a lot of dessert after meal situation, but today is one of them. This is called tangyuan. Tangyuan is a traditional Sichuan snack made with glutinous rice and usually with stuffings, either meat or sesame paste. And this is sesame paste. And this thing is called taojiao, which is peach jelly. This comes from the peach tree, similar to rubber. Jelly-like? Okay, even here I can already taste a little bit like sesame, but this is really it. Glutinous rice casing with black sesame inside. But the shape is good, and you have a little bit of jelly, a bit of an additional presentation. It's filling. I'm full. I've just finished the meal. I'm so full. Good food, fantastic baijiu. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Make sure to like and share and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.